In today's video, we're going to be talking all about spin. Every short game lesson I do, a golfer will ask me, Andy, how do I get more spin? Or how do I get spin? How do I get the ball to spin back? Basically, this falls into three categories in terms of how we really optimize spin. First is technique. It will always be technique. Second is equipment. And third are the general conditions of the golf course, the grass and the greens. So first of all, let's go for technique, because at the end of the day, as a golf coach, that is the most important thing in the world ever, okay? It's technique. Now, first thing is ball position. We want to be able to create an angle of attack so we hit down on the golf ball. As you know, if you hit down on the golf ball, that creates spin, okay? So I'm going to put the ball position in the center of my stance. I've got plenty of loft in my hand. I've got a 54-degree wedge, and one of the ways that I create spin again is through speed. So if I hit with speed, I do all of that faster. If the ball leaves the face faster, it leaves it with more backspin as well. So again, that can create more backspin. It's all about trying to level off all of these different areas. It's so difficult to get. Now, with a decent technique and a decent set of golf clubs, you're going to have backspin because you're going to have a soft landing on the green. Every golf shot you ever hit has got backspin, even your driver. And so ball position in the middle of my stance, and as I take my setup, also the shaft of the club is pointing right at my belly button. That's giving me the optimal 54 degrees of loft, okay? Now when I come into the golf ball, I don't want the handle to drag to the left of my body, because that's now going to de-loft the golf club. And if I de-loft a 54-degree club, I'm lowering the spin rate, and I don't want to lower the spin rate. So this is not a full shot. This is like a 3/4 shot for me. Around about 80 yards or so, and it's 5,700 spin. Right, now if I hit this harder and get that ball flying a little bit further, so if I try and land this at now 90 yards, so I'm going to do the same technique.
Carry is 106.0 yards.
So what you're able to see there is I'm adding plenty of loft to the club. So it's a 54-degree loft, but the actual dynamic loft of the shot is 56 degrees. So what that means is it's the loft with the speed of my swing dynamically gets the ball up 56 degrees. It's not necessarily the exact number of the club at impact, it's all of the numbers together. It's the dynamic loft, it's the movement throughout the golf ball that creates 56 degrees of loft. So I'm hitting the ball up nice and high. Now, because I'm hitting it up nice and high, I need speed to get the distance. And by doing so, I'm hitting the ball high, adding speed, which gives me spin. So I'm hitting a high wedge shot with plenty of spin. Now again, because I'm not hitting this full power, it's not going to spin back. Because if I hit it full power, I can hit more spin on the golf ball, which potentially could get it to come back. But at this sort of shot, because it's not a full shot for me, it's not going to spin. I would never expect to see it spin back. I would expect to see it stop within a couple of yards. However, if I pull out a 58-degree loft, let's see the difference now. The dynamic loft should jump up. The height of the shot is going to be much, much higher. And as a result of that, the landing is going to be more vertical, which is going to stop the ball a lot faster. So that was 62 degrees dynamic loft. I've got a 58-degree club. So way more loft than the 54-degree. And therefore I expect it to stop faster because of its landing angle. So that has got loads and loads of backspin on it because of the loft and the speed and the distance that I'm hitting it. I've had to hit it harder to get the distance going. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. That's the technique behind it. Once you've set up ball position in the center, the butt of the club pointing at the belly button, as you're swinging back into the golf ball, we've still got to be able to release that club. So I want to release this angle. I want to get the butt of the club pointing back towards my stomach as I continue to rotate, and the butt of the club stays here. So I'm managing to maintain the loft through impact. I don't want the hands to drag forward. I don't want to de-loft it. This is where some people get stuck because they're worried about the quality of the strike and hitting down on the golf ball, and they end up with the hands too far forward. We do not want to fall into that trap. We want to allow the club to kind of release down into the ground without hitting a huge divot. Secondly, quality of equipment. Very, very quickly, I use a Vokey and I've used the Pro V1X. So I have got maximum spin options available to me in the equipment that I use. If I use more of a budget club, so something that doesn't have as good quality in terms of the head materials, or if I use a harder ball, which is probably even more important. If I use, let's say, an NXT Tour compared to a Pro V1, the difference is going to be huge in the spin that it creates. If we go even worse than that and go into like a Top Flight or a Pinnacle golf ball, they are super hard golf balls in comparison, and they will not create much backspin. Certainly once the ball lands, they will release out. You can also start getting into 2-piece, 3-piece, up to 5-piece golf balls. 5-piece are the most spinny golf balls you can get. Great for around the greens, great from inside of 100 yards, but much more difficult off the tee. So whilst trying to get spin and choose the correct equipment for spin, you've got to make sure you don't hinder the other aspects of your game. Okay, so we've already determined that the 58 degree will create a little bit more spin than the 54 degree, certainly from this distance, because the dynamic loft angle is higher, the spin loft angle is higher, the speed I'm hitting the golf shot is faster, therefore the amount of spin I put on the golf ball will increase. All optimal reasons as to why we can create more spin. So we've got a more lofted club, hitting it with more speed. Now we've also going to have to take into consideration the conditions in which you're playing in. For example, the summer here has been crazy hot, so I would never expect to see the golf ball stop dead on the green unless they've been heavily watered beforehand. But looking at the lies, most importantly, I've got 3 golf balls here. One's in the rough, so one's caught this kind of lush green long grass. One's kind of sat up quite nicely into the semi-rough like it tends to do, and one's off a lovely tight lie in the fairway. 3 probably very different types of ball striking. First one with the grass in behind the golf ball, that gets stuck between club and golf ball, which creates less backspin because the grooves can't get a clean strike on the ball. So you're going to lose spin based on strike. Whereas the fairway, we've got nothing between club face and ball, therefore you can create a lot more spin. So what we're going to do, we're going to fire away, we're going to hit the 58 degree to start with from the rough. So I'm expecting that, I'd expect like a bigger hop on its first bounce, and then it would maybe settle into a little bit of the spin and just release, but not release too far. So about 90 yards out from the rough. So grass was definitely stuck between club and ball. A big first bounce. I got a really, really good strike on it. So it was a big first bounce, and then the spin kind of came into the shot and it just kind of nestled it down. I would say it's probably finished within about 5 yards of where it landed. Again, I'm going on to equipment. I've got the best possible equipment on the market in regards to Titleist Vokey and Pro V1X. So if you are using a harder ball, maybe expect that first bounce to be a little bit further than a couple of yards, and maybe expect the spin to be less. So maybe your radius will be a 10 yards from where the ball has landed. If we're going to go from the semi-rough, I'd expect to see a little bit more, I'd expect to feel a better connection on the golf ball. So much less grass hit, much more ball hit, rolls up the face, and pretty much stops within about 3 or 4 yards on the green, because the strike was so pure. Off the fairway, I'm expecting it to literally stop dead now. Good strike again. Ball lands and stops within about a yard. So 3 the same distances from 3 very different types of lies. Expect different results based on your lies, then expect different results based on your equipment, and make sure you get your technique right first. I hope this video has been a help for you all in regards to understanding spin and how to get it. 3 very important departments that you need to get right before you can expect the spin that you probably want. But most importantly with golf, if you're consistent, then you can allow for whatever spin comes your way. You don't want to go and get a Pro V1 just so you can spin it, because what it'll do off the tee is spin more and create more of an issue. So you need to find that golf ball that's the happy medium, so you get enough spin around the greens, but it also allows you to kind of give it a good wallop off the tee without losing it sideways. Guys, thanks very much for watching. Please do hit that subscribe button as ever, and I'll see you again in future videos.